In 2154, Los Angeles, like the entire Earth, was dying under the burden of overpopulation and poverty. Max da Costa, who grew up in an orphanage, always dreamed of living on Elysium, a space station where the rich and privileged live. He worked at the Armadine factory, producing police robots. Max's life was monotonous and hard, but he tried to stay afloat. One morning, Max encountered a patrol of police robots who were checking documents. During the check, he made a joke, but the robot misunderstood his words and hit his arm with a metal baton. The robot ordered Max to report to his parole officer, and Max headed to the hospital with a broken arm. At the hospital, Max met his old childhood friend, Frey, who worked as a nurse. She provided him with first aid and said that his arm was broken. They talked about life, and Max told her that he worked assembling robots. Frey agreed to have coffee with him, and this short conversation gave Max some comfort. Max reported to his parole officer, but instead of a person, he spoke with a robot who extended his parole by 8 months. Max felt humiliated and hopeless. When he returned to the factory, his supervisor fined him for being late. Meanwhile, illegal transporters were trying to take refugees to Elysium. The detection system spotted the shuttle, and the defense minister activated the sleeper agent Kruger, who shot down the shuttle from Earth. However, a second shuttle managed to evade and reach Elysium. The refugees, scattering around the station, hoped to evade the robots and find a device that could heal them. Robots pursued them, using tasers and arresting them. One woman with an unconscious girl managed to find a device. She broke the glass and placed the girl in the capsule, which fully restored her health within minutes. They were then arrested and deported back to Earth. After the factory, Max met his old friend, who suggested stealing a couple of cars. Max refused, fearing to end up in prison again. The next day, the supervisor ordered Max to repair a broken radiation processing machine. During the process, Max got trapped inside and was exposed to radiation. The doctors said he had only 5 days to live. Exhausted and irradiated, Max headed home, met his friend Julio, who suggested they contact the leader of the underground network. Spider told Max that to get to Elysium, he would need to perform a dangerous task: hack the brain of a high-ranking person. In exchange, they promised to take Max to the station and heal him. Spider was a tough and calculating person who wasn't used to helping without getting something in return. He said it was very expensive and invaluable. At that moment, Max grabbed Spider and desperately cried out that he was dying. Spider remained calm and said he was looking for someone willing to do something for him. He led Max to a hidden part of the building and showed him a chip. Max asked what needed to be done, to which Spider replied that they needed to capture a billionaire from Elysium who was on Earth for some business. He explained that they needed to obtain the chip in his head, connect to his brain, and download all the data. Spider also added that they would install an exoskeleton connected to Max's nervous system, making him as strong as a robot. Max understood that this was his only chance and agreed to the conditions. The next day, Max met with Spider and his team. They began preparing him for the mission. Max felt fear in the dark operating room. They removed his cast, and the surgeon started sharpening a knife. Max asked if it would hurt, to which the surgeon laughed and said it would be very painful. Max promised himself that he wouldn't die that day. They gave him a sedative, and the operation began. Step by step, they attached the exoskeleton components to him. Fear and adrenaline mixed with the pain from the radiation. The next day after the operation, Max woke up in a room. Spider said he had given him a chance to survive. Every moment was filled with anxiety, but Max knew he had to keep going. On Elysium, Defense Minister Jessica Delacour met with John Carlyle, the factory director. She asked him if he could stage a coup to bring a new president to power. Delacour offered Carlyle contracts for the next 200 years if he wrote a code that would reboot the system, allowing them to change the president. Carlyle, understanding the benefit of such an offer, agreed to her terms. Meanwhile, at the factory, Carlyle created a code that could reboot the system and stored it in his brain. He then informed the defense minister that he was heading to her. At this time, Max's team sped to the factory in cars and set up an ambush for Carlyle's shuttle. Carlyle, accompanied by 2 security robots, boarded the shuttle and took off from the factory. Max shot the shuttle with a remote detonation charge, blowing up one of the engines. The shuttle crashed. On Elysium, the defense minister received a message that Carlyle was in danger and sent her sleeper agent Kruger to rescue him. Kruger, sensing something was wrong, asked to return to active duty. She sent him 2 more agents for backup. Max's team tried to hack the shuttle. Droids attacked Max's team. Max shot a special explosive round. Destroying one of the droids. He fought the second robot, defeating it by tearing off its head. He approached Carlyle, who was injured. They managed to connect to his brain before he died and downloaded the data. On the horizon, they saw Kruger's shuttle approaching, and at the last moment, the laptop showed an error. The data was encrypted. The programmer wanted to give up and run, threatening Max. Max asked to wait for the download to finish, but the programmer said it was impossible. Kruger attacked Max with a missile from his ship, blowing up the car. Max survived and saw Kruger approaching. Kruger stabbed Max with a knife. At that moment, Julio shot Kruger, distracting him from Max, and Max managed to grab a gun. Kruger killed Julio. Max emptied his magazine into Kruger and ran to Julio, seeing he was dead. Kruger pursued Max, releasing surveillance drones. The defense minister, fearing the exposure of the data, locked down the city. Barely alive, Max headed to the hospital and collapsed outside it. Frey noticed him and saw the stab wound. He told her that they wanted to kill him and asked for help. She took him home and tried to help. The next day, waking up, Max saw Frey's daughter. He told them everything that had happened. Frey said her daughter was dying of leukemia and asked him to take her to Elysium to save her. Max left, but encountered a drone that recognized him, and Kruger started pursuing him again. Kruger broke into Frey's place and interrogated her about Max's whereabouts. She said she didn't know where he was. Kruger didn't believe her and hit her in the face. He took them onto his ship. Max went to Spider to ask for a ticket to Elysium, but Spider said all flights were locked down. He told Max it wasn't a coincidence. He might have downloaded something important from Carlyle. They connected to the chip in Max's head and realized he had a program to reboot Elysium. Max decided to go to Elysium no matter what. Spider tried to dissuade him, but Max said he had little time left. Max picked up a damaged drone, provoking Kruger to return. Kruger landed his ship near Max. Max threatened to blow up his head with a grenade and asked to be taken to a medbay on Elysium. Kruger agreed, but it seemed like a trap. Max entered the ship and saw Frey and her daughter there. Kruger reported the capture, and the defense minister lifted the no-fly zone. Spider, having secretly placed a tracker on Max, monitored his movements and saw him heading to Elysium. He gathered his armed team and followed. Before landing, Kruger attacked Max on the ship. In the fight, Max dropped a grenade, which exploded, blowing off Kruger's face. The ship crashed. Max tried to carry Frey and her daughter out of the burning ship, but soldiers attacked them. Frey and her daughter escaped without Max. One of the soldiers shot Max with a taser. Another soldier chased Frey and also knocked her out. She asked him to help her daughter, who was in a coma, but the soldier just tasered her. Max woke up in a room, tied to a table with a wire connected to his head. The defense minister was viewing the data in his head and ordered the disposal of Frey and her daughter and the extraction of the data from Max's head, even if it killed him. Meanwhile, Spider's armed team landed on Elysium. One of Kruger's soldiers took Frey at gunpoint. They put the injured Kruger in a recovery machine that gave him a new face. Max broke free from his restraints, knocked out the technicians, and asked where they had taken Frey and her daughter, ignoring the computer's voice that he needed urgent medical help. The defense minister scolded Kruger for his failure and threatened exposure. Kruger, suffering from mental instability, killed her with a piece of glass, stabbing her in the neck. He ordered his soldiers to kill everyone and seize Elysium. Walking through the corridors, they killed indiscriminately. Frey tried to help the dying defense minister but failed. Max ran through the corridors and contacted Spider via radio. Spider told him that the data in his head could make everyone a citizen of Elysium, granting them access to medical care. Kruger donned the latest exoskeleton and went after Max. Max sent Frey and her daughter to a medbay and stayed to fight Kruger. Max met with Spider and asked him to ensure someone looked after Frey. Suddenly, Kruger appeared from around the corner and threw an explosive shuriken, blowing up one of Spider's team members. Max started shooting at Kruger with a plasma gun, slowing him down but not stopping him. Suddenly, Max had a severe headache, slowing him down, and Kruger caught up with them. Spider saved Max from a fatal blow, getting stabbed in the process. Max fought Kruger but kept losing. Finally, he tore off Kruger's neuroconnector, immobilizing his exoskeleton. Max threw him over the railing, pulling the pin from a grenade and throwing it with him. Spider changed the code, making Earth's residents legal visitors to Elysium, changing history. Max talked to Frey over the radio, reminiscing about their childhood. Spider pressed the upload button, and Max died, uploading the code from his head, rebooting the system. Frey activated the medbay and healed her daughter. Spider added all Earth's residents to the system, and medical shuttles headed to Earth to heal the people. Max DaCosta's story in Elysium highlights deep social inequality and the importance of fighting for justice. Despite all the hardships and suffering, Max found the strength and courage to change the world, sacrificing himself to save millions of people on Earth. His actions broke down the barriers, separating the privileged few from the rest of humanity, showing that true strength lies in the resilience of the human spirit and the willingness to fight for equality and justice.